Hello there, everybody, and welcome to Speaking Life, the podcast where I share my thoughts and talk about things that I like that inspire me to become the best version of myself each and every single day. I'm your host, David G. Petschauer, and today is a very special day for me. When this episode goes up, which will be May 1st, I'm recording this 1 week in advance. It will be my birthday. But it's not just any birthday for me. This year, it will be my 20th birthday. That's still quite hard for me to wrap my head around. 20 years of my existence. 20 years of me being on this planet. I truly feel like I haven't been on Earth for that long, though. You people may believe that I still have a lot of time ahead of me to live, and perhaps I do. However, during my time here, I have learned a number of lessons throughout my life, and in this episode, I want to share with you said lessons. Let's just jump right into this, shall we? Here are 20 lessons I've learned throughout my 20 years of living. Lesson number 1. Acknowledge the uncomfortable. Nobody is a stranger to being uncomfortable. We may feel uncomfortable every day on a variety of scales. It's hard to be uncomfortable. But here's where people take the incorrect approach. People may choose to ignore the uncomfortable because of the adjective's meaning. They choose to do what is easy in the moment. This is short-sighted vision because little do they know, those moments of being uncomfortable can lead to times of growth and success. Throughout my school career, I was a huge procrastinator because I hated the feeling of being stuck when doing assignments. Feeling stuck made me uncomfortable, so I did every possible thing to avoid that feeling. I regret that aspect. This lesson didn't truly stick with me, though, until after my grandfather's passing, when I lost a lot of friends because what I was going through made others feel uncomfortable, so I was avoided. I was surprised at the number of people I saw who were like me in the sense of avoiding the uncomfortable. With all this in mind, what I like to do is, instead of avoiding the uncomfortable, stop and acknowledge it. That goes a long way, believe me. Then, move forward with the uncomfortable. Confront it head on and solve it if you can. Lesson number 2. Prove yourself right. I despise the phrase prove others wrong. It demonstrates the willingness to let your life be dictated by the opinions of other people. If I'm being honest with you, one person to another, people don't have the time to think about you all the time. I realize that is a big hit to the ego, but it's the truth. Everyone has their own problems to sort out. They're way more concerned about their own lives. If you ask me, when someone tells you that you can't do something, they're indirectly projecting their own problems onto you. They're unsure if they can do something themselves. Leave them be. Don't worry about showing someone something that they've already given up on. After all, it's them who have given up. It's a waste of time to prove someone of that caliber wrong. If you want to do something, do it. Protect your aspirations. Prove to yourself that you can do it. Lesson number 3. Never take anything or anyone for granted. This is a hard lesson for me to remember, if I'm being honest with you. It is easy to take things for granted. Having a house, food to eat, people that you see every day. When you get exposed to those things for long periods of time, it's hard to imagine what life would be like without them. But when you at least expect it, things can change in an instant. Then what happens? You'll be left begging for the good old days to return when they already passed. You'll then be so focused on the past that you'll never embrace the present and the future. Live in the moment. Embrace the change when it happens, and keep moving forward. Lesson number 4. Get some sleep. If you listen to my episode on sleep, you'll know how important this is to me. Years ago, I was under the mindset that sleep was a waste of time. It always bothered me when I had to go to sleep. However, after a time period in high school where I sacrificed a lot of sleep just to catch up on schoolwork, I had to finally acknowledge that sleep is incredibly important. When I finally graduated, I was so excited to finally get some more sleep. You may think that sleep is a waste of time, but that's completely wrong. You can check out my episode on sleep to grasp a better understanding, but sleeping for the adequate amount has a lot of benefits. Just to name a few examples, benefits include a boosted immune system, better focus and creativity, and a reduced risk of chronic disease. I know there are some of you that think that you can get by through sheer willpower or things like energy drinks, but believe me, that will backfire. Believe me. Lesson number 5. Failure doesn't exist. I will repeat that. Failure does not exist. Hear me out on this one. People believe that when they haven't done something to their liking, then that means that they have failed. But the way I see it, there are levels to that. When you don't do well on something, 9 times out of 10, you have the opportunity to reflect on what happened and how you can bounce back so that you can get better. There are very few instances, if any, that prevent you from doing that. If you don't do well on something, but you take the time to learn and bounce back, how is that a failure? If you ask me, that's just simply a loss. And with losing, you can always bounce back. If you ask me, this is only a failure if you decide to not learn from that setback, to just accept it and not move forward with what you want to do. I remember this quote that my 8th grade science teacher put up on the board. He would typically put up a lot of really good quotes, but this is the one I always remember, even up to today. It read, "Falling down is an accident. Staying down is a choice. In your life, you will fall down, but it's your decision to choose what you will do. You want to learn from that opportunity, from that setback, and get back up? Or do you just want to stay down because you're scared to try again? The choice is yours." Lesson number 6. Life won't always go your way, and that's okay. This lesson is kind of related to the previous one. Life is a grand journey. It's filled with a spectacle of moments classified under an infinite number of categories. We talked briefly earlier about living in the moment and embracing the good, but you should also know that life will have moments where we aren't satisfied with what happens. You'll face setbacks. You'll get your heart broken. But that's okay. It's all part of the journey. Everything happens for a reason. What happens is that you acknowledge everything, learn, improve, and move forward. Lesson number 7. Information means nothing without implementation. It's great to be informed and read about anything you want to know. In this day and age, it's easier than ever to get information about anything you want through the internet and whatnot. But if you really want to get great at something, that's just half the battle. The best way to learn is by actually doing. By doing something, you're reinforcing and or modifying the information you've learned into something more effective for you to understand. It's kind of like when you get a Lego set. You can read the manual for how to build the set, and you might be able to learn something, but when you put in the effort to actually build it, you're able to learn more than by just reading. Lesson number 8. The secret to success is consistency. In order to get ahead of the majority of people, there is one very important thing that you must do. You have to show up. That's it. People think that before they show up, they have to be at their absolute peak mindset. They have so many expectations that they must meet before and while doing the task at hand. Now they think that because they want what is best, which is good. It means that they care. But in a way, those expectations are actually preventing them from reaching their best. All you need to do is just show up and do it. And try not to be so hard on yourself, too. There will be days where you will perform at your best. Other days, you'll perform way lower than you expected. You'll be disappointed. Either way, you showed up and you did something. And if you know anything about compound interest, consistency works in the same way. Those efforts done each day will accumulate into unprecedented success. Lesson number 9. Motivation is overrated. On YouTube, there's a content creator named James Schulz who brought this topic to light for me. He is known for studying every day for 12 hours a day for over a year back during the COVID-19 pandemic. In a very famous video that explains how he was able to do that, James explained that using motivation as your method to accomplish something will set you up for disappointments. He explained that motivation is volatile. It's bound to change depending on where you're at in life. Instead, James suggests that you need to really understand what it is that you want and internalize it. Write it down so that you can remind yourself of it every so often. I can't stress this enough. When you fully understand what you want, you can do anything regardless of how you feel. Lesson number 10. You have more time than you think. How many times have you heard yourself or someone else say something along the lines of, I don't have the time? I've heard it too many times to count throughout my life, but for me, saying that I don't have the time, it's completely false. We have the power to do whatever we want with every second that we spend awake and alive. It all comes down to how we use those seconds. I highly recommend looking into time management and planning out your day. For me, having some sort of plan in mind for how to proceed the next day has made me a more satisfied and productive person. People who say that they don't have the time for something just don't make said thing a priority. Lesson number 11. It's okay to say no. Now, this is a difficult thing to do. I'm guilty of not following this lesson multiple times myself. Of course, there is nothing wrong with helping others. I think that is what we should do as a collective society living amongst one another. How else do we become the most dominant species on this planet? The problem is when helping people gets to the point where you're willing to ignore your own morals and well-being to please them. That's when it all gets dicey. If it comes down to that, that's when you need to put your foot down. You need to realize your own value and that you're a person with your own feelings. Express yourself. Say no. Will others not like it? Maybe so, but that's okay. Because people will react however they will. You can't control that, but you can control what you say and do. Lesson number 12. Anger and sadness aren't bad emotions. They're just emotions. If you're anything like me, you were raised with the idea that showing sadness and anger was always bad. We would be met with our caretakers showing those emotions themselves to shut us up. Learning from those experiences, we aged with the ability to suppress those negative emotions whether we were aware of it or not, because we subconsciously made the connection that resulted in those negative emotions being bad. Suppressing emotions may be good in the short run, but it's unhealthy. From my personal experience, suppressing emotions is akin to trying to keep a bomb from exploding inside of you. It doesn't feel good. Anger and sadness are emotions that make us who we are, just like joy, fear, and envy, just to name a few other emotions. They are responses to various situations and can be helpful in particular contexts. I need to give a massive shout out to the Disney Pixar movie Inside Out for helping me realize this. Lesson number 13. Understand, not just react. This lesson stems from an observation that I made through watching people interact. It seems that when they talk to one another, they don't talk to reach an agreement. They talk to win. When someone is talking, the reason why another person is quiet isn't because they're listening. It's because they're waiting for their turn to speak, formulating their response. I see this happen all the time. For me personally, when I win a conversation, I still feel unfulfilled. I realize that this sensation swells within me because neither party has reached a compromise and moved on. Instead, parties may feel some form of bitterness that issues would resolve this way. If you want true progress to be made between people, you can't just talk to react. You need to understand where others may be coming from. Ask them questions. Don't judge. Take a moment to breathe and think before you speak. If everybody is willing to work together with compassion, then true progress can be made. Even when a consensus is decided that benefits one party more, we can still choose to respect and wish the best for one another. Lesson number 14. Everything in life is a risk. Whatever you choose to do right now, you're risking the opportunity to do something else. In the moment, those choices may seem small, but they can carry a ripple effect that affects your future. For example, you might choose to not do a homework assignment because of a social event you'd like to attend. Going to a social event allows you to have a fun time and create core memories with others, but it comes at the expense of feeling overwhelmed in the future when you need to do the assignment and more to stay up to date with class. On the flip side, choosing to do your homework lightens the load and keeps you up to date in class, but not going to the social event rids you of an opportunity to bond with others and make a core memory. This is a very basic example, I know, but I hope that you realize the gist here. One decision that you make affects other aspects of your life, with the severity of those decisions varying but always there. So with this in mind, take all the risks that you can with one goal in mind, creating the best version of yourself that you find happy. Lesson number 15. Nobody is going to save you except yourself. In those moments where it feels like life is too much to handle, you have to be the one who decides to keep moving forward. Sure, you can feel inspired by others to take action. You can look at all the motivational videos that you want. However, you take action because you decide to. It's your choice, no one else's. It doesn't matter how you start as long as you just start. As I said earlier, everyone already has their own problems to sort out. Lesson number 16. Do less to do more. That's very counterintuitive, I know. Let me explain. I'm sure that you've heard of the concept of multitasking, where you devote your attention to multiple things at once. On paper, people may believe that this strategy is better than doing tasks one at a time. However, research has shown the opposite to be true. You can do some research in your spare time, but through some scanning, there are reports that multitasking can actually decrease your ability to focus because switching between tasks drains your brain of energy. Another negative effect is raising your stress levels, which also raises your blood pressure and your heart rate. In my personal experience, multitasking results in getting absolutely nothing done, if not anything. Yet, when I do things one at a time, I'm amazed at the progress that I'm able to make. Yes, it's less stimulating and you have a huge chance of feeling stuck and or bored. But the progress comes when you embrace the feeling of being stuck, when you embrace the feeling of being bored. It's in those moments of adversity, I guess you could say, that creates true progress. Lesson number 17. Social media is a double-edged sword. I have had a very tumultuous relationship with social media. I decided to get Instagram towards the end of my 8th grade year, about 6 years ago. That was the first social media platform that I decided to download, if you're excluding YouTube. Long story short, it marked the start of a new addiction. At first, using it was fun. It was very stimulating and allowed me the chance to peek at the lives of others in ways I otherwise couldn't. Over time, however, Instagram began to occupy more and more of my time. Every time I felt bored, I would instinctively pull out my phone and mindlessly scroll on the platform, looking to get some stimulation. When I was stuck in my home thanks to the COVID 19 pandemic, my screen time shot up way higher than usual, and a good chunk of that time was spent on Instagram. I was aware that Instagram was starting to make its presence known more and more, but no matter what I did, I kept using it too much. One day, in December of 2022, after again mindlessly scrolling for hours, I grew aware of my situation and decided that enough was enough. I went cold turkey. I deleted the app and stopped using it for 7 months. I realized something during that time frame. Social media isn't inherently bad. It depends on how you use it. As I stated before, social media can be a little too stimulating and you can spend a lot of time on it if you're not careful. However, it can be a great way to promote, and it's filled with great information that you can learn from. You just need to be aware of why and how you're using social media. Upon realizing that, I have decided to re-download social media again. And while I'm not perfect with my screen time usage, there are still moments where I can mindlessly scroll if I'm not careful. I like to think that I have improved a great deal at handling my time on social media. Lesson number 18. Money is necessary, but it can't solve everything. Money has been a very polarizing topic for me for as long as I can remember. When I was younger, I used to think that you don't need money. My grandfather was very obsessed with money too. I remember how one time he flat out told me that money was all that I needed to be thinking about. I didn't like hearing that because I felt that that wasn't true. In fact, I still don't think it is. Over the years, though, my mentality has shifted a little bit. I've adopted a little bit of realism and I've realized that in this economy, money is necessary. It's important. It makes life way easier because money makes the economy flow. However, while money makes things easier, there are things that money can't solve. Finding your purpose in life, relationships, and mental health are just some examples where money isn't fully effective. Lesson number 19. Remember what you loved as a child. As we are young, we look through the world with eyes of wonder. We enjoy everything that catches our attention as we make sense of what surrounds us. As we grow older and our understanding of the world strengthens, we modify our actions in accordance with our understanding. We begin to do what we think helps us and do less of what we think may not help us. Unfortunately, this may include what we used to do to bring us joy when we were younger. To adults, doing things like playing video games can be seen as a waste of time. In my opinion, I disagree, especially with gaming. In a life where things may get very hectic with worries such as mortgages, taxes, relationships, etc., it's important to remember and keep doing what you loved when you were younger. It's those things that can maintain the joy that you need to keep on living. Lesson number 20. You have no enemies. If you watched my episode on the anime Vinland Saga, you'll know how important this lesson is to me. This is what Thor attempts to instill in his son Thorfinn at the beginning of the series. Thorfinn struggles to understand at first, initially believing that he has enemies who have wronged him, especially after the death of his father. As Thorfinn ages, however, he realizes that the suffering that he endures is caused by his own thoughts and actions. Thus, Thorfinn chooses to pursue a life of peace and not vengeance. We go through life labeling others as a friend, foe, or stranger based on our interactions. It's quite easy to label someone as an enemy when they do something that ticks you off these days. Yet, this approach can affect our beliefs and experiences moving forwards, harming our well-being. In Vinland Saga, the supposed antagonists to the Thorfinn aren't as simple-minded as the name suggests. They're written with a great deal of depth. They have their own motives, their own goals, and their own thoughts about the world they live in. There are even moments where these people show moments of compassion, which isn't something that you may expect from an enemy. This brings to light the following. Are certain people really our enemies? Or are they just labels that we created as an indirect way of projecting our insecurities and misunderstandings onto others? Let me make something perfectly clear. When we say that we have no enemies, that doesn't mean that we allow others to exploit and or harm us. The phrase means that every person that we meet is traversing through life like us. Every person has parts of themselves that we don't fully understand. That's why it's important to practice empathy and withhold judgment. We must understand that our actions and thoughts are done of our own accord. We must take responsibility for our lives. Through all of this, we can create true peace and harmony for life. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Speaking Life podcast. Please take care of yourselves, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Thank you.